So, to really understand how organisms survive, we first have to tackle the concept of life processes. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, life processes are basically a set of interconnected activities within an organism that collectively contribute to its repair and maintenance. Whether we're talking about a microscopic single-celled amoeba, a giant oak tree, or, a human being, these processes are the non-negotiable requirements for survival. They are quite literally the boundary line between the living and the non-living. Okay, let's dive right into this. We can break these essential life processes down into four main pillars: nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. Notice how the first letters spell out RENT? Yup, to stay alive, every single living thing has to pay its biological rent. Let's start with our first pillar. Section 1, nutrition. This is all about acquiring fuel for the biological machine, right? Taking energy from the outside world and bringing it inside to keep us going. When it comes to nutrition, organisms generally fall into two camps. First up, we've got autotrophic nutrition. This is the incredibly elegant, self-sustaining chemistry of plants. Using just sunlight, inorganic carbon dioxide, and water, plants literally build their own food from scratch through photosynthesis. Contrast that with heterotrophic nutrition, that's us. Animals and fungi are essentially high-maintenance consumers. We absolutely cannot make our own food from sunlight, so we rely on consuming complex organic substances and using biocatalysts, which we call enzymes, to break all that food down into usable energy. To see how wild this can get, look at the single-celled amoeba. It doesn't have a mouth, it doesn't have a stomach. So how does it eat? It solves the nutrition problem by pushing out these temporary extensions of its cell surface, called pseudopodia, and literally wrapping its entire body around a food particle, pulling it into a temporary food vacuole. It is a beautifully simple, highly effective way to just engulf a meal. Now compare that totally simple amoeba with the highly specialized human alimentary canal. We are essentially a massive, incredibly complex fuel refinery. From the absolute second food enters your mouth, a rhythmic muscle contraction called peristalsis starts pushing it down a very lengthy tube. And all along this pathway, our body is secreting these powerful enzymes. You've got salivary amylase in the mouth to break down starches, and pepsin floating in the highly acidic environment of your stomach to digest proteins. It's a whole assembly line. So the fascinating takeaway here is that an organism's diet literally shapes its internal anatomy. If you're a herbivore, like a cow, and you're just eating grass all day, you need a much longer small intestine to give your body the time it needs to break down that really tough plant cellulose. But if you're a carnivore, like a tiger, eating meat, your intestine is much shorter because meat is just easier to digest. And regardless of the length, the inner walls of our small intestine are lined with millions of these tiny finger-like projections called villi. These villi are absolute game changers. They massively increase the surface area so that all those broken down nutrients can be rapidly absorbed straight into our bloodstream. Section 2, respiration. All right, so we've secured our fuel through nutrition. And now we move to the R in rent, respiration. And spoiler alert here, respiration isn't just about breathing in and out. Not at all. It's the cellular oxidation process of actually unlocking the energy from the fuel we just ate. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever sprinted as fast as you can to catch a bus or chased after your dog, and suddenly your leg muscles just start to throb and burn with this intense, cramping pain? Why exactly does that happen? Well, the answer is anaerobic respiration. Normally, our bodies use oxygen to break down glucose and release a ton of energy. That's aerobic respiration, and it's great. But when you sprint, your muscles are demanding energy so quickly that your breathing simply cannot supply oxygen fast enough. So your muscle cells kind of panic and switch to a backup system. They start breaking down glucose in the absence of oxygen. Now, this gets you energy really fast, but it creates a toxic byproduct called lactic acid. And that lactic acid buildup, that is the exact culprit behind those painful cramps you're feeling. Now, what's really interesting about these slides is seeing how plants handle respiration because, obviously, they don't have a set of lungs. Take a look at these microscopic structures on the underside of a leaf. They're called stomata. Plants basically breathe through these tiny little pores. To prevent drying out, each stoma is guarded by specialized guard cells. When the plant needs to take in carbon dioxide, water rushes into these guard cells. They swell up like little balloons and pull the pore wide open. When they shrink, the pore closes tightly. It is an automatic, incredibly efficient microscopic breathing valve. Section 3, transportation. Think of this phase of our biological machinery like the transit system of a bustling metropolis. Once you have your nutrients and oxygen, you still have to transport those supplies to every single corner of the city and simultaneously cart away all the waste. In humans, this transit system is powered by an absolute powerhouse, the heart. It's a muscular, four-chambered pump roughly the size of your fist. It forces oxygen-rich blood out through thick-walled arteries under really high pressure, and then receives oxygen-poor blood back through thin-walled veins. But the real genius here is our double circulation system. Blood actually passes through the human heart twice per cycle. One circuit goes strictly to the lungs to pick up oxygen, and the other goes out to the rest of the body. This complete separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is exactly what allows mammals like us to maintain our high-energy, warm-blooded lifestyle without skipping a beat. Meanwhile, the plant world relies on a radically different but equally brilliant plumbing system. Plants don't have a pumping heart. Instead, they use two distinct networks. The xylem transports water up from the roots, and remarkably, doing this requires zero energy from the plant. As water evaporates from the leaves, it creates this powerful suction that pulls water all the way up the plant, literally like drawing liquid through a giant straw. On the other hand, the phloem is responsible for transporting the food made in the leaves out to the rest of the plant. And unlike the xylem, this is an active process that requires the plant to spend some of its hard-earned ATP energy. Section 4. Excretion. Okay, so we've taken in fuel, we've unlocked its energy, and we've transported it all around the body. But doing all of those chemical reactions creates toxic byproducts. Excretion is the vital, quite literally life-saving process of taking out the metabolic trash. In humans, our waste management facility is handled by a pair of bean-shaped organs, the kidneys. You can think of them as an elite, high-tech water filtration plant. Deep inside your kidneys are millions of microscopic filtering units called nephrons. They're just working silently in the background, constantly filtering your blood to extract toxic nitrogenous wastes like urea, while making sure to keep all the good stuff your body still needs. The resulting waste product is urine, which travels down the ureters and is stored in the bladder until it can be eliminated. Now, looking at this table, compare our system with how a plant manages its waste. Humans require highly specialized organs like kidneys to handle all that toxic urea and uric acid. Plants, amazingly, have absolutely no specialized excretory organs. None! Instead of a complex filtration system, plants just deal with waste by storing it in leaves that eventually dry up and fall off, or packing it into old bark, or storing it in cellular vacuoles. It is a completely decentralized, zero-fuss way of taking out the trash. And honestly, this brings us to one of the most incredibly surprising and beautiful ironies about the natural world. Look at what a plant actually considers waste. The oxygen released during photosynthesis, that is a gaseous waste product for the plant. Yet it's the very molecule we humans absolutely require to survive. Furthermore, many of those waste products stored in plant bark and leaves include gums, rubber latex, and aromatic compounds. So those relaxing jasmine and eucalyptus essential oils we all love so much, from a biological perspective, we are literally out here enjoying the plant's metabolic garbage. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. What would happen if even one of these RENT processes, nutrition, respiration, transportation, or excretion, stopped paying its dues inside your body right now? The reality is, life is this insanely delicate, continuous balancing act. Billions of cells, miles of blood vessels, and countless enzymes are working together in a silent, interconnected symphony inside of you, right at this very second, just to maintain the miracle that is your existence. Next time you take a breath or eat a meal, take just a moment to appreciate the incredible machinery of life. But it really makes you wonder, if this is just the basic RENT we pay to survive, what other hidden biological superpowers are running silently beneath your skin right now? Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.